Now, we just talked about the Switch Firmware 6.0.0 rumor and the possible update that was very, very close. Now, that was technically a rumor because we were hearing about it, and it sounded like it was coming up alongside the Nintendo Online service. Well, Dataminers found out yesterday, actually very, very early early in the morning this morning, late at night last night, found out that the Firmware 6.0 has actually already been uploaded to Nintendo servers, and they managed to access it, basically pull it from their servers. They've even loaded it on their Switches to see what's going on with it, and now they're kind of sifting through the code and data mining it. Now, this appears to be an ongoing thing, and they're continuously adding stuff and updating, but they have given us a list of a bunch of things that they have found, and one thing in particular has people talking because it could be pointing to more than just NES games, because as far as we know now, there are 20 NES games to get us started, and we were wondering, well, okay, are we going to go further than that, since this is, I guess, a service-based thing now where you want to continuously add games to it. Long history of games from Nintendo that they could pull from a ton of different systems, and Super Nintendo seems like another easy one to emulate. I know you get to 64 and it gets a little dicey still, but, I mean, Nintendo and Super Nintendo are pretty much done now. Everyone can emulate them, and it makes a lot of sense. So, when they were going through code, they actually found controllers, and one of the controllers seems to point to possibilities of Super Nintendo being there, as well as Nintendo, because they loaded a whole bunch of like NES controllers in. So let's go through some of these, I guess, these features. Let's see some screenshots here from a couple of different people who have been data mining. Of course, Michael Sayers, who we talk about quite a bit, who's well known in the hacking community, Shadow Ninja 108, and then Abe Santana's are all going through, taking screenshots, getting pictures. And some of the stuff that they have noted here include apparently the slogan, by the way, is more games, more features, more fun. The features part, I'm not 100% sure on, but I guess because they do have save data backup to the cloud, I guess technically that is an extra feature. Now, they also are adding icons. So I guess if you like some of the icons they've been adding, they're adding Toad icons from Captain Toad Treasure Tractor. We're going to have 2 Captain Toad icons, 2 Toadette icons, and then a Wingo and a Dragodon, and that seems to be one of their biggest parts that you will see at the surface, are icons. I know, it might be a little underwhelming there. New controller icons are probably the biggest thing right now, as you're going to see them across here, and you'll see that there are a bunch of different Nintendo and Famicom controllers, and then you're also going to see what looks to me, people who are thinking Super Nintendo, it looks to me like one of the Wii Classic controllers. Remember that? That was introduced for the Virtual Console back in the day as something you could buy, and then it's easy to play all of the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and even 64 stuff with it. That is kind of what that looks like to me, and it makes me wonder if there is going to be a new, I guess, classic controller introduced for the Switch to go alongside of this subscription-based NES game service for now, probably Super Nintendo eventually. And then they're also adding a bunch of back-end security stuff to kind of fight against some of the methods that hackers are using right now to open the Switch up and I guess do even stuff like this. Now, the thing about this is, while save backup is there in the cloud form, they didn't seem to be able to find any way to back up outside of that, which is a shame, but we're gonna, again, we'll see what happens when Nintendo actually announces this and it launches, because there could be things that like there could be applications still, like Netflix could still launch and it's something you download from the eShop, like what happened with Hulu, where it's not just natively on your system, you have to go get it. So that could change as things could become available in the eShop, like a Netflix app or a YouTube app or something like that. No, the thing that's very interesting to me is they have not been able to find any way to do things like message people on the Switch or do folders. Folders seems to be the biggest request by people, right? Is to have ways to stack your games in a folder so you don't have to scroll to the end or scroll all the way through them. It can be a little annoying, very, very, very frustrating to try to organize your digital collection, which is what a lot of people are doing now because there's so many indie games popping up. I think people just want a way to organize them, and folders, if it's not here, it might be a later one. We'll see. But yeah, messaging not being there. Now, I think what could happen if it's not in just this straight up, just this 6.0 update, there could be something they introduce that's like an application that you download that's like their social application for the system. There's also a chance that they want you to do a lot of that through the cell phone app, which would be a shame if that's what they want you to do, because a lot of people don't really want to touch the cell phone app at all. And if they lock things like, we already seen voice chat through it, but then also messaging through it, yeah, that's not good. I don't think that's good. I don't know why you wouldn't just have messaging on the system where you can message your friend or anything like it. It seems very weird. Again, though, 6.0 has not launched yet. So I want to wait to see if maybe there's stuff that they have not found yet that's in the code, like they're data mining still. Maybe there's something they come across, or maybe there's just another feature that Nintendo adds around launch time or the week leading up to launch. They just have it. Or again, it could be an application down from the eShop, and this is like your social, your social space where you kind of message people and talk to people and stuff, and kind of like what we've had before with the Miiverse. Similar. It's very possible they could be working on something different for that. Yeah, I think the most interesting part so far that they have found are those controllers, because having something like all of those Nintendo controllers and the Famicom controllers there is very interesting, but then having that, what looks like a classic controller, again, I know it has that look like a Super Nintendo controller, but it's not shaped the same. It's almost like one of those 8-bit DOE controllers, sort of, how they have those. But this looks like a classic controller that I think they're going to release. Having all of those Nintendo controllers is very interesting as well. Maybe they'll have some Nintendo controllers that they release down the road that are even like specialized, or maybe you can get like a special edition Famicom controller, because of course the ones from the Super Nintendo Classic and the Nintendo Classic, those are wired. So unless there's some kind of box that'll convert it over for you, or even make them become wireless, that would be kind of neat actually. If you have a little box near you that you can plug it in and use that, and it's like wireless, kind of like what you do with the Wii remote, where you plug in your classic controller to that, and then it would basically become wireless because the Wiimote is doing all the communication to the system. They could do something like that, but I think they're going to be releasing special edition Bluetooth devices like a classic controller that'll work across the board for Nintendo and Super Nintendo. But this does at least make us, I guess, believe or I guess reinforce the idea that it could be Super Nintendo control or Super Nintendo games that you would need a Super Nintendo controller for that could be hopefully coming sooner than later. I mean, it's a part of 6.0, which we assume is happening very soon. It's possible that they continue to add games every month, and one month they're like, hey, here's Super Mario World, or here's Link to the Past. That's a Super Nintendo game, get your classic controller. I would like that. But so far what they found is kind of expected, minus that Super Nintendo looking controller, that classic controller in there. It's been pretty much status quo so far. I wanted to see something with messaging. We're still waiting to actually get the official release. I do think it's kind of neat that they were able to find those controllers, but considering Nintendo hasn't really said much about any of this with this firmware or anything, I wouldn't take what they have found here as absolute, as like that's all that's going to happen. But right now it's looking fairly underwhelming. So we'll see. We'll see what else they have. Let me know what you guys think about this down below, the data mining that's taken place and some of the stuff they found, whether it's the controllers or I guess the new icons, I guess. Let me know about that down below, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like the video if you liked it. Dislike it if not. I'll see you guys in the next video.